Hey guys, you're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and in this video, I want to talk about some of the different options that a person can choose from when building their bug out or get home or I'm never coming home bag. There are a lot of different options, and what you choose will basically come down to the circumstances that you prep for and what you expect your situation to look like. Now, it's important to pick the thing that will be most ergonomic and which will suit you best and be comfortable for the length of time that you will be using it. So it's really important to know what you expect your situation to look like and also to use your system so that you find any failures in it and get used to using it. So I'm just going to go through these in no particular order and just share with you what I thought of for a few different situations where you can have some gear and supplies ready to get you home or to get you to a bug out location or just to get you away from a disaster zone, even as a refugee. So, first, on that note, let's look at your basic American stick and bag over the shoulder. Hold on. All right, we're ready to kick rocks. Yes, I do have cigarettes in the room with me. Somehow, I simply lost the urge to smoke after a pack a day for 10 years. So I'm lucky. All right, getting real. Your most common bug out bag is almost certainly your basic backpack or day pack turned into a bolt bag, get home bag, bug out bag. And that's just because this is what most people are going to have. Some people go tactical, some people go full backpacker. But a lot of people are just going to have the resources to put together a backpack with a bunch of supplies in it. Now, this is actually just the bolt part of my bug out bag. My bug out kit is in a foot locker, like that one back there, in my car. This part is outside the foot locker, and this is what I grab if there's no time to get into the rest of the stuff and reorganize or grab a larger bag or anything like that. So your standard backpack or day pack, probably your common bug out bag. A bucket. This has supplies in it. If it's the only thing that somebody can grab before they get out of their house, they will have whatever supplies are in that bucket. Now, for some people, that will be a reality. For other people, this might be an option to put some supplies in a bag and put it in or under a car out in your yard, or actually go the full way and put PVC tubes in and do a double wall system to bury a cache a little further out from your house. Now, cache. Now, caching is a whole nother game altogether. But a bucket as a bug out or just transportation system is not a bad idea. And even if you use any of these other options, it might be a good idea to grab an empty bucket or a bucket full of food on your way out, just because buckets full of food and even empty buckets are good things to have around in a bug out or inch situation. Or buckets full of water. And for that matter, a hand cart or a dolly, not a bad thing. Have about 4 buckets strapped to it. That's not a bad mobile system. And also game carts. I don't have anything like that I want to bring in my room right now, but bear in mind that having something that you can just roll along, especially on off-road terrain, is a good option. Now let's talk about tactical next, because I talked about this in a recent video and I want to follow it up. Now, I pretty much agree with all of the comments that I got there, and that was pretty much the point that I was trying to get across with that video. Tactical stuff is for tactical situations, and there's not much room for that kind of weight and space and just that kind of stuff in most bug out situations. Now, I do want to share, just to clear the air and to point some things out for people who are mostly observing so far, that there are 2 ways that I see tactical gear. One is that you are doing tactical stuff, and that is in the traditional sense. You're part of a squad or a group who is fighting an enemy, and that's sort of a face-on kind of thing. And I think that that's what most people think of when you say tactical stuff. They think that you're thinking of getting into a fight, a gunfight. Now, part of the reason, the main reason that I like tactical stuff comes from my young readings of Vietnam and Korean War soldiers from both sides. And that tactical gear is the kind of thing where it makes it more handy, and it's still the kind of thing that they use it for today. But far from being the kind of stuff that's supposed to protect you in a firefight, as most people think of body armor as, I see it as keeping the things that you need handy, keeping your water right near your face, having the food that you need if you are on the move continuously and can't stop to do anything, and not having a big bag on your backpack where you're forced to stop and take it off and reach into it just to do some minor things. I also like the fact that a vest system pulls a lot of the weight around to the front of your body rather than just having it on the back. Now, let's say that you are traveling in your bug out route and you fear that you might be getting followed. You have the option of letting the rest of your group carry on with the bulk of the supplies and stuff, and having just a few things on your vest so that you can split off and double back to observe the people who may be following you or things like that. Now, in this situation, you don't want to be carrying your full backpack, but you do want to have just enough with you to be able to go a day or two and act autonomously, knowing that during that period of time, you may not even have the time to sleep, or if you do, it will not be any more than leaning up against a tree wrapped up in a poncho liner and sleeping a little bit, and that you won't have the time to cook or do anything but grab a little bit of food and water and various other things from pockets on you and just do some minor comfort things. Now, from that perspective, a tactical vest gives you all of the things that you need to act continuously without some of the stuff that you don't, and allowing you to be a pretty fluid operating unit. Now, I know that most of you who are sharing comments with me know all of this stuff, but I do want to point out that that is one situation where you do want to have at least some tactical options. Now, coming into that, you would not necessarily want everything that I have here. This is the start of a pretty full tactical set. Now, if I was traveling through a wooded area and I was doing a little bit of recon, I would probably want just this webbing vest and not this whole plate carrier and scabbard setup. I'd probably want my water bladder. And I'd probably drop the crowbar. Might put on the axe. But a setup like this allows you to carry a rather surprisingly large amount of gear and to keep it very handy over even a longer period of time so that you're able to operate as a mobile unit without having to stop and break camp just to do some pretty minor things. Now, plate carrier LBEs are great, but that weight and bulkiness is more reserved to those fighting people heads-on type situations. Now, when it comes to a long-term bugging out type situation where you're traveling long distances through rural areas, which a lot of people think of when they're talking about bugging out, an internal or external frame backpack is really going to be one of your best options. And that is because it is the most comfortable way to carry a large amount of supplies over long distances. And if you are able-bodied to any degree, the internal or external frame pack can literally outfit you enough to travel across continents, because that's what people regularly use these for. So a very large capacity pack is almost inarguably one of the best long-term bug out or inch bags that you can choose from. Now, if you expect to be bugging through almost completely rural and paved areas, you can also pick from something like a foot locker or a rolling luggage bag like this one that I got for surprisingly cheap at the thrift store and shared in a past video. Now this thing has an absurdly large amount of storage. It's actually pretty much the same, if not more, than this foot locker back here, especially with all of these pockets bulged out. Now, that is almost so much that you would stand out simply hauling this along the road because it would be clear that you have a lot of stuff in there. But because it is just your regular traveler commuter bag, it would be a lot more gray man than a military footlocker would be. But a military footlocker, even itself, especially if you gray manned it up a little bit and put some broomsticks on the side of it, wouldn't be a bad option for rolling a lot of stuff down the road, especially if it has wheels on it like this one does. Now, moving down from the large amounts of gear, because I know that some of you will not have the option of hauling all of this around in your car because of space considerations, or because you're just not going to have the resources to put this all together, or you don't want to be that conspicuous with even something like a bag on your back. There are other options, the more gray man approaches, that you can choose from. One of the most gray man and minimalist options that there are is the bug out tin. Now, some people even go as small as an Altoid or mini Altoids tin, because as long as you have some shadow of your 5Cs covered, it's a bug out tin. I'm of the opinion that you should have as much with you as you can reasonably have with you. So a larger tin or a larger bag or what have you. Now, I like the tins like this because I can put together a pretty decent get home or emergency tin for friends who aren't even preppers and be like, hey, put this in your car so that you can at least walk home if anything bad ever happens to your car or whatever. It's got a chocolate bar in it. It's got some moleskins for your feet, some different things like that that you can use just to get you through a sticky situation. And it gets them realizing how handy prepping can be. Or if that's just all the space that you have in your backpack for bug out considerations, you can get a cheap tin from your thrift store of whatever size you need and can find to put wherever you need it, in a glove box, in a backpack, or in a dorm, wherever, to have some bug out option. Now, as I talked about vests earlier, the fisherman's vest is a really good option. Now, I was planning to make this video today, and I went to Walmart, and they had this for $7, which is a pretty good price for such a decent vest. Now, this one has pockets all over the front. On the inside of the vest, and it has a gigantic panel pocket filling the whole back, making this thing have more capacity than some backpacks do. And that is extremely gray man. You could put a whole lot of gear in there and walk down the street and nobody would ever suspect that you have all the gear that you need to survive on you. So vests and coats are really good options for doing the whole bug out gray man. And this is something that Hoople's CAD Emergency Preparedness Lifestyle is working on. Now, I don't think he has any videos talking about it. He's only mentioned it in comments, but do be watching his channel because he always provides valuable information, and he is putting together a bug out internal carry coat, and I think he plans on sharing that eventually. But even if you just have a windbreaker, you can just have a webbing system where you have items hanging inside of it and simply use it to conceal that stuff. Now, you can buy webbing from Lowe's or various hardware stores. It's just the strapping that goes on backpacks, and you can buy the buckles and clips and hang items from it and lash them all together so it hangs from your shoulders like a carry holster, and then simply throw a coat over it and walk through crowds of refugees without anybody noticing that you're the guy with stuff. And if it's colder weather, you can have a much larger and bulkier coat, a shoplifter coat, some of which even have massive internal pockets or which have plenty of space for you to sew them in yourself. So I think that more or less covers all the ones that I thought of sharing today. There are definitely a lot of other options, and I'd love to hear the ones that you guys think of in the comments down below. I hope that that was thoughtful, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to share. Thanks for watching, and please do stay tuned with Let's Talk About Prepping for future episodes. Stay safe out there, everyone.